Hello, today I'm starting a new series, Mercury conjunctions. Now, Mercury is really, really important planet in the world we're living in at the moment. However, we are actually stepping into a different period soon. So this is very much to do with now. And the more spiritual side of the world is coming in. So things will change and we will go into more of Jupiterian time. So let's talk about let's talk about Mercury. And so Mercury is the prince. We have the sun, the king, queen is obviously moon, and this is their child, which is Mercury. Mercury in the natural zodiac rules, which is from Aries, rules third house, which is Gemini, and sixth house, which is Virgo. And I'm going to go through these two houses just briefly for those of you who are new to astrology. And I know it's a little bit boring for people who know, but third house is obviously rules hands, fingers, arms, and top of your shoulders. And it's also your throat chakra. Mercury rules your throat chakra. And so sixth house is stomach, digestion, like it's not just digestion of food, but it's also digestion of information, what we watch, what we hear, all of that, and what we see. It's all digesting information. So that's literally what what it's all about. Now, Mercury itself rules speech, rules the nervous system, rules your skin, and rule also allergies. Any form of allergy is to do with Mercury. Mercury is neuter in a sense. It's neither female or male. It's just like it's basically dependent on the house that it's sitting in, the sign that it's sitting in, and the influence that it has. It changes because it's the baby of the zodiac, and it rules Upachaya houses, third and sixth house, so they get better with time. Wherever Mercury sits, because it's obviously rules adolescents and children and young people. So wherever it sits in your chart, you are not obviously with everything to do with life we have to learn, but wherever Mercury is, we have to learn even more about it, if you like. And just like children, Mercury is very flexible with information, because what happens with all of us when we are young, we are much more open to things. We have our pineal gland working. We don't really see color in people, religion. We don't think about their belief systems. We accept everyone. So in a sense, like we don't really think, oh, I don't like this music or that person or anything like that. That's not how we work as a child. We actually, our environment, our conditioning, our parents, our schools, everything sort of shapes us, if you like. So anyway, yeah. So this is like this is the reason why they say wherever Mercury sits, it can. If it's sitting with benefics, it will be benefic. It'll act like a benefic. But if it's in sitting with malefics, it'll be malefic. So, for example, Mercury sitting with Venus will be very different to Mercury sitting with Mars. For one thing, one is friendly with her, the other one is enemy with her. And also, say, for example, as a young child, if you hang around with kids who are troublemakers, you are likely to be conditioned to be like them. So it doesn't necessarily mean you are like them, but you can be conditioned to be like that. Similarly, if you are with people who are quite Jupiterian, quite forward-looking and quite, optimistic and all of that, that is how Mercury is going to function. So it's very changeable, and therefore, as you can see that whatever house we're sitting in, we're a little bit immature about we think we know it, but actually we have to learn a lot more about it too. But Mercury in today's world, it's so important. So I'm just going to go through some of the indications. I haven't really made many notes, so I'm just going to, hopefully everything will come to me. I'm wearing green to honor it, and I'm going to publish this on a Wednesday, which is a day that's ruled by Mercury. It rules emeralds, it rules nature, it rules anything green, plants, it rules fast food, because obviously it's a fast moving planet. So Mercury, as I said, rules third and sixth house of natural zodiac. It's friendly with the sun, very good friends with Venus, and it's also, although some sun, I would say friendly towards Saturn, although it can be a little bit like Saturn, can, if you're sitting with Mercury, can really just drain it. And it's also, Rahu works well in Mercury signs, although I would probably say Rahu is a trickster, can make us tell lies. So if it's with planet of speech, we're more likely to be like fibbing. I'm not saying lying, just fibbing little white lies, things like that. But obviously it's got to be quite, Mercury, it is a malefic really. So, but it's also multi-talented. There are so many things that are ruled by Mercury. It's absolutely incredible. So let's make a start. So obviously it rules third house. So communication, this is exactly what I'm doing now. So it rules all of those things, everything to do with emails, texting, messaging, all social media, all mainstream media, newspapers, journalism, broadcasting. Crikey, what is it that it doesn't do? It rules travel. It rules movement, literally, because you're born first house Aries, second house family. When you get in the nurture of the family, third house, you start moving. It rules kind of also third house, also friends, colleagues, siblings. So this is the very first time you start like arguing with them, right? This is my toy. How you speak, how you get brave, how you get courageous and fight your corner. You express yourself. You're hot, you're cold, you're tired, all of those things. And it's Mercury rules students, young people, rules friends, mates, pals, teamwork, rules, as I said, neighbors, rules neighborhoods, what else? Rules commerce, stock market, money, currency, and obviously dollar notes are green, so it's very Mercury. Rules all forms of information, data, like if you can get like if you wanted to sort of like ask your government for like freedom of information, that's it. So it's all of that data is actually Mercury. Mercury is in everything. So you buy like for example, say if you buy like a vacuum cleaner, it's instruction books is Mercury. Learning is Mercury. Courses, skills, days out, picnics, cinema, singing, dancing, music, learning music, playing music, partying, all of those things are all Mercury and all third house. Making things with your hands is your dexterity is also Mercury. Mercury rules herbs, so herbal, Ayurvedic, healing things, all sixth house. So this is again Mercury. Reiki, massage, personal training, exercise, yoga. What else? Oh my God, there's so many things that it rules. Recipes, when you're cooking, recipes. Bringing people into your groups and teams and all of those things. It's also sixth house of competition is also to do with that as well. It's basically your ability to work things out. So like, you get a puzzle in front of you as a kid and you see the space that is empty and you're trying to match the shapes of toys to that. And so ability to work that out is and that as we grow older as well. So obviously, we could have like a cryptic puzzle, crosswords, all of those are. So it's also entertainment of whatever we are interested in. So whether it's YouTube, learning, or watching Netflix, all of those things are all to do with Mercury. Mercury is the organizer, and is practical, is intellectual. It's not intelligence. Intelligence is the sun, and it's not logical. That is Mars. So your how you organize yourself. This is also very much from the very, very moment you wake up. How do you organize yourself? I have to say, last 2.5 years, I just have not been able to. It just seems to take me longer and longer and longer to get myself sorted, because there's so much information going on, and I want to be really in, because of the other jobs that I do, I need to be in the know. So it's just taking me longer and longer to get these videos done and actually fit them in, and everything has been really trying. I'm also doing mercurial things, in the sense that I'm doing gardening, growing vegetables and herbs, and making my own potions and lotions and things. So that's all Mercury. Mercury is commerce, merchandising, displays in the shops, all of those wonderful things that you see for festivities, Christmas or carnivals and things like that. They're all to do with display. So it attracts the eye because we're taking information in, that kind of thing. And obviously the worst thing of all is when we are on our mobiles. I mean, I've deleted all the big apps now. I mean, my phone is literally so old anyway, but it's got no ability to have any form of apps on there. So all of those things are obviously graphic design, marketing, things like that. They're all to do with Mercury. And obviously Mercury is quite fickle, so this is how you can get yourself into trouble, because you could be like on Facebook. Oh God, I've had to delete everything. I am not actually dealing with any big companies, although I deal with YouTube and Zoom obviously at the moment. So, but generally speaking, you get trapped into that. So they trick you into like, you're watching something, and because they're listening to your conversation, that advertising comes in. Before you know it, you bought something from Amazon, you bought something else from Amazon, that leads you to another one, and before you know it, you got all these things that you don't need. And so it's very impulsive because it is young, and also that's Rahu as well, but it is also Mercury. And partying, picnicking, organizing barbecues, days out at the beach, going to the zoo, pets, rescue animals, all of those things are to do with sixth house as well. Sixth house is also work. So how do you get yourself organized in the morning? So you get up, you exercise, eat, shower, and get yourself organized, so you leave in time to get to work in time. That's all Mercury. How you then organize yourself at work in order to meet your deadlines, that's Mercury. Working with others, trying to get on with others, create teamwork, that's also Mercury. Mercury is also practical, so it's going to be like a really strong. Mercury knows how to gain information, how to utilize information, what's good. It uses a lot of discernment, so it's quite clever, quite good in the sense, also it's green, so it's envy and jealousy is Mercury. So it could be like you. I mean, obviously I've got the green on today, so, and this is when you see that you realize that every planet has got a real negative side to it. So with Mercury, it could be very much about like noticing other, because it rules sixth house of critical, and it doesn't miss detail, is sixth house. And obviously sixth house of natural zodiac is Virgo. Is an earth sign. It's all to do with money, and it's very materialistic. So it's noticing what somebody else has and you haven't. And so it can, this is something that you've got to realize also, that particularly Mercury, when it is in earth signs, it's very materialistic. So they've got a new car, you notice that. Like your friend has got a new pair of earrings or something, you notice that. So they're very like, oh yeah, I noticed that. It's also like that if planets that are in Mercury nakshatras, which rules Ashlesha, Jyeshta, and Revati. Revati not so much, but definitely, I'm saying not so much, it doesn't mean, but Mercury nakshatras could be a little bit like that, where they're a little bit like you notice things and it's like, oh, I wish they're gone on holiday, I wish I could have done that. So just be careful, because you don't want to create like negative energy for yourself. So never send it out. When you say something to somebody, make sure it doesn't have a double meaning. So always protect your karmas. You're intelligent, you're doing astrology, so you want to just like make your own life better. But like when some people give you double-edged, like they don't really mean it, so they just give you a compliment, but it's like a backhanded one. So all of us know, we know that we don't want something like that, because they don't really mean it. So, but actually what they do, these people, they make it harder for themselves. And inevitably we all have a sixth house, and sixth house is obviously is how you see that jealousy, and it's enemies as well. But we know them because sixth house is like an open house, so we actually notice and feel the energy that is negative. Whereas eighth house and 12th house are secret enemies. We don't know that. They're just like doing it's like a little bit like voodoo-ish, bad black energy. But all of that, all it does, it traps that person in that negative thing. So I think it's always good to just let it go, because we all have these earth signs in our chart. We all have Mercury nakshatras in our chart, so we can't really say that, oh, but I'm not like that. We can there's always going to be a situation where we can be like that. So we just have to, as spiritual souls who are awakened and want to just like have the better life, when you see that and you feel really bad, just like you send those bad energies away and just protect yourself, and just send love to other people, because you don't really know what they're going through. They could all be smiley, and that's not really necessarily how their life is. So what else? Okay, so I said, obviously Mercury rules, it's like Jupiter, it's really good for first house. So gets directional strength in the first house of the chart. So if it's in the ascendant, whether it's in D1 or any other of your subcharts, then that subchart you have massive focus on. Also works really well in the eighth house. That is one house that I can truly say the only planet that works really well in the eighth house is Mercury. So if you have it in your chart already, or one of your subcharts, or you're going to go through a planetary period, where Mercury is in your eighth house, I'm going through that right now. I'm loving it. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, brilliant. And actually, if Mercury is also in, so despite all the difficulties that I've been through, I am just making the most of this sub period, because sub period of Mercury for me has just literally, that's what it's done. It's brought in the astrology that I've been studying for years. It's just made me want to share that with others. It's like a free gift to the world, write off some of my karma, even though I seem to be so ill. So I don't know, maybe like he's creating some issues along the way as well. But anyway, it's other people's issues. So you just got to just be open-hearted, don't you? And yeah, so if you have that in any subchart, happy days, that's brilliant. In one of the chart that having eighth house Mercury is fantastic, whether it is naturally in there or in a dasha, is when you get it in your D11 Aya. I don't mean the normal one, I mean the Aya, when Sage Aya is Iyer. If you get it in that one and Mercury is in the eighth house, you could suddenly gain. Now that gain, it could be monetary, it normally is. However, it could also be gain of knowledge, it could be gain of great friends, because obviously rules friends, gain of information that's important, gain of like lots of travel, a great job, all of that things. So all of those groups that can help you is amazing. So it also only has only aspects 7 houses opposite house, that's it. So so blesses is a benefic anyway, but it's if by association it is sitting with the malefic, and malefics are Saturn, Mars, Rahu, Ketu, then there is a difficulty there. And it's also not very good with Jupiter. Jupiter and Mercury are not very good. So you will notice that if you got Mercury in Jupiter signs or Jupiter nakshatras, which is Purnavasu, Vishaka, and also Purva Bhadrapada, Mercury doesn't do very well at all in these. And what it does, it just expands the person's mind and thinking process and learning. And it's very difficult to consolidate all that learning. So yeah, and it just really focusescapes the person for a while. If you've got a Mercury which is debilitated, don't worry, because you also need to know whether or not what the condition is in your D9. That is really what is going on, not necessarily D1. And the Navamsha chart, if if you find that it's in a strong position, then that is, sometimes when they're debilitated, they can be exalted in the Navamsha. But just check that, because this is the reason why it's very important to know to the minute when you were born. And what else? So the other thing is as well, it's also Mercury is in certain houses gives you wonderful ability. So as I said, 8th house and 1st house. 6th house is good as well, because obviously it's going to help you organize things, because Mercury is really good at working at obstacles of life and how to tackle those and get over those issues with using your intellect, being practical, and just like getting the timings right, getting the cooperation that you need in order to do things well. And Mercury, because it's a planet that likes to get on with other people, work with other people, is it can give you many what do you call it? It's a merchant, so you can actually get on with anyone. And so Mercury, as I said, is speech. When it's aspected by Rahu, or if it's in the 12th house or has got 12th house Lord aspect or something like that, it can actually, if it's in a good condition, it can really help you learn languages very quickly and just work out really sort of things to do with space, with astronomy, with other realms, with mysterious things. So amazing. It's got so many facets to it, really. It's unbelievable. And sometimes though, when Mercury is overly strong, where it's like in quite rigid signs and things, it can be too left-brained. So it could just be like, it could be just far too intellectual to actually really see the spiritual side of life. This is what, this is some of the reason why we've struggled because the world is so Rahu, so Mercury. And but obviously things to do with the source, with spiritual growth, awakening, like the other realms, and just being connected, psychic things. If they can't see it, they can't believe it. So they're really a little bit stuck in a 3D world, really, where, oh, well, prove it to me. And even if you prove it to them, if it's not in an intellectual manner, they really struggle with that. They just like, I don't know, it doesn't sit with them very well. So there is this issue there as well. So it's worth knowing that too. And what else do I want to say? So I already told you the planets that is, it works well with. One of the things is also that Mercury is obviously, when you are like Gemini ascendant or Virgo ascendant, what happens is Jupiter is in your 7th house. So this is why sometimes, this is what they call the Badak house for them, because what happens is for the dual signs, their 7th house or 7th lord can give them troubles. We all have that, so it's not just necessarily just them, but this is just for Gemini and Virgo ascendant. So they have some obstacles to get through to learn about, like relationships, business relationship, partnerships and things like that. And so Yeah, so that's the because they are attracted to somebody who is very like spiritual and thinking like the big picture, whereas they are stuck very much in the detail, like particularly Virgo, in the small detail, and they can't see how everything in the big picture is going to work out if the little detail is wrong. So they could be a little bit stuck with detail too, particularly Virgo ascendant. So but yeah, so this is why there are some challenges there, whereas Jupiter wants to see the big picture, and they attracted to people. I mean, this is how the balance in the world is really, but they're just thinking, oh, I'm reading all this classical, information, and there she is, or he is, on his social media, like uh, doing this and that. So and like the Geminis particularly like the gossipy columns and things like that. And yeah, so it's a little bit like two worlds apart, but that's how they balance each other out too. Anyway, I'm going to just kind of bring this to an end now. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. If I have, I will add it in another video, but let's start. I'm going to start with Mercury Sun together, because Mercury is a very fast moving planet, so as a result can be a bit fickle. It rules gay people as well, and it is also comedic. It's got fantastic timing. It's full of one-liners. It can mimic anything. It's all to do with copying, any printing, copying of anything. Is all of that. All jobs that are clerical are ruled um, by Mercury. Taxi drivers which travel short distances, short distance travel is ruled by them. They are also Mercurial, because they do like small chat, social butterflies, that kind of thing. So anyway, let's start the ascendants. Thank you very much. Okay, I just came across some other notes about Mercury, so I thought I'd just put them in as well. So obviously Mercury rules internet, rules gaming, all sorts of gambling and things like that as well. It can be to do with Rahu, Mercury, but Mercury is all the entertainment places where we go to have fun, whether it's like ski slopes, indoor skiing, indoor sort of skating, all of those things have got things to do with Mercury. Mercury is also the editor too. So when you actually go through your, I don't know, say, apologies, so you write an essay and you go through it, that's also like Mercury editing, taking things out, or even editor or newspaper is ruled. They're all ruled by Mercury. It's our talents, how we learning by repetition, because it's copying. So it learns through repeating, learning. It's very factual, and this is the reason why it can kind of question certain belief systems. I can't see it, so it doesn't exist, that kind of thing. So this is why there's a problem between Mercury and Jupiter, because one is just like, doesn't need to see it. It can feel God. It can feel it can walk on grass and feel Mother Nature. That's just like they are connected. They can receive downloads and things more easily, those people who are with higher realm. But whereas if you're stuck too much in the can't see it, so it doesn't exist, so it's just a lot more limited in that sense. It's ideas and social ability. Sun, Mercury, very bright. I just got actually a few notes that are from many years ago, so I thought I'd just share them with you as well. It's like Mercury, Rahu can give you, because obviously Mercury is what you call skin, can give you acne. Mercury, Mars can give you inflammation, eczema, that kind of thing. Mercury, Saturn can give dark patches on your skin. Mercury, Sun can give you sunburn, but it's the person will be very bright as a button, particularly if Mercury is not combust. And so let's see. Okay. So in the first house, this is like, obviously Mercury is chatting. If they go in the first house, they like to talk about themselves. Mercury in the second house like to talk about money, food, family. Third house like to talk about siblings and friends. Fourth house like to talk about land, property, mum, talking with mum. Fifth house like to love life and poems, poetry, and Sixth house likes to talk about work and nutrition. Seventh house likes to talk about love. Eighth house loves to talk about death, sex, siblings, taboo stuff. Ninth house talks about religion and belief system. 10th house likes to talk about work. 11th house likes to talk about friends and networks. 12th house likes to talk about bed pleasures. It's hilarious. Okay, so careers that, what kind of things? It can be so many things. It can be scientists. It could be curious about, skilled, talented, quick wit, jack of all trades. So obviously this is not careers. This is just all things about Mercury. It can be I'll put calculator. Calculators are ruled by Mercury. It's obviously a communicator, follower of the rules. If it's in bad dignity with Rahu, it can be a thief or tell fibs. It doesn't necessarily have to be really, really bad and bend the rules. It can also be an eternal student. It's a great researcher, helpful, mediator, versatile, realist, friends, connections, sense of humor, loves knowledge, juggles things, especially with Swati Nakshatra. It's a realist and no harsh opinions if not involved with Mars. So Mars makes it that way. Obviously, and I've written like things about speech therapy, can be one of the jobs that they do. Mercury helps us manage our life. They make good astrologers, astronomers with Rahu. Even a Kendra of Jupiter, great for knowledge and colleges. He rules post office stamps, stamp collecting. Anything you collect is ruled by Mercury. And rules lungs, nose, hips, autism, ADHD, anything green, helpful. Already said that. Non-threatening, rules animal kingdom. And what else got here? It's your dexterity. Mercury in the second house of D4 will be good, obviously, because for property and things. Likes writing, marketing and networking, information technology, particularly with Mars or Rahu, sculpting, hand skills, philosophy as is practical. Jupiter will be more spiritual philosophy. Youth, childhood behavior. If it rules you look younger. Plastic surgery as somebody wants youth. Plastic surgeon is Mars. It's pretty amazing. Behavior of bird, as they move a lot like birds. So amazing. Mercury rules obviously matures at 32, so it takes the houses. You get fruits more as it gets older. It rules herbs, pizza. It's a bridge between inside and out. It's Karaka of acting, dancing, and writing. Allergies is analyzes things, intellect, education, learning, and additional learnings that we take later. It's a client, trade, business, aunts and uncles, and grandfather, maternal side, younger siblings, and acid. Okay, let's see what else we have. This is so much fun because I've seen these things for years. So Mercury transiting your natal Mercury element every 6 years is a pivotal time. Oh, so yeah, so if so that's amazing because it happens every 6 years. It goes into where it was when you were born. So yeah. And each elemental return, you refine another subtle part of your life, self-development. That's definitely Mercury. Mercury ahead of the Sun is the more superior conjunction. So rather than the other way around, Sun ahead, yeah, as long as it's not combust. So what else do we have? It's obviously, I said, it's trickster, i.e. Mercury retrograde in Aries, something new, because obviously it's a pioneering sign, Aries. Mercury retrograde for transformation. Okay, Mercury retrograde can be expressive by means of writing, alchemy, magic, connections. Gambling as is fifth house, so third house is habits. So Mercury, messenger of God, whatever house it's in, messenger of that house. Mercury in Aquarius, evolution and consciousness, alignment with others, intellectual evolution. Mercury equals spread of the message, throat chakra. Mercury in Pisces is more intuitive, spiritual, and less to do with kind of practicality. So it's like spiritual intellect. So combust Mercury means we need to learn to ask for what we want. If Mercury's seventh lord in the D9, intelligent partner, fickle-minded, unpredictable, somehow younger. Mercury does not do well in Jupiter signs. Obviously, we know that. Mercury and K2, great placement for acting illusion. Mercury rules environment, schools, young people's school. I said that already. Friends, thinking. Third house is thinking. Mercury is in third house, chatterbox. In Libra, this is a great platform for them because of other people, you see. Mercury and Saturn, indication towards skin issues, disease, or Mercury in Capricorn, melasma, pigmentation. It's in friendly sign as well, so it's always give and take these things. Right, so that's it. A few other things. Mercury retrograde, actually, these people always go back on what they say. They constantly going back and reviewing, revising, reassessing what they've said. But, you know, Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year. It's not such a bad thing, because if Mercury is too strong, we just can be like chatterboxes, like, look at my video, how long it has been. So this is like tribute to Mercury. Anyway, guys, have a lovely time, a great day, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Hello, this video is about the conjunction of Mercury with the Sun. So as you know, Sun is the planet of vitality. It's a soul planet for all of us, and it's an indicator of the Sun. And it's all about our confidence, personality, and how we rate, you know, wherever it is in your chart, Sun is where we command some form of leadership, if you like. We would like to be the boss in that department. And or on the other hand, you can actually say where you actually are, your vitality in, you know, shows in the chart is where the Sun is. Obviously, Sun is very friendly to Mercury. They get on really well. And even though really for a Virgo ascendant, Sun, although it's you know, it's not so friendly towards Virgo, because it all rules their 12th house, and 12th house is naturally is a house that's Mercury can't really resonate with. It's quite, and neither can the Sun, actually. Sun is one of the worst positions for the Sun in the chart, can be the 12th house. So there could be something about our dad or the boss or the leader or whatever that we attract. They're not really, there's something about them that we don't know, is quite secretive, you know, because Sun is all about like radiating and illuminating wherever it is. So when it's in the very, very, even though 8th house is really also a secretive house. However, in the 12th house, it really does kind of, you know, it struggles there, because you know, if I did see that in particularly a leader's chart, a politician's chart, because believe me, they've all got 8th and 12th house things. It's incredible, really. It's just incredible. We're not surprised though. So yeah, anyway, so that's, yeah, so they work really, really well together. And because Sun, Mercury and Venus, they're all fast moving planets, and as a result, you know, but Mercury is much more comfortable being close to the Sun. And I know in the text they say about 12 degrees for Mercury, particularly, you know, retrograde, you know, Mercury, stuff like that. But for me, I always take it at 8 degrees. That's how I was shown by Mark Boney, really. So I think, you know, he was always kind of okay with that. And he's one of my teachers. So I respect all my teachers, and therefore I think, you know, it doesn't get combust as much, but it could be that there are some lessons for that Mercury to do with the sun, with the leaders, with confidence, things like that, that Mercury needs to deal with. And we all have to, you know, life for us is all about like challenges and things. And Mercury is one of those planets that can help us with the challenges of life, because it learns, experiences, and it puts it into action. So let's have a look at the chart. Oh, there we are. Okay. So obviously, you know, I've just chosen, you know, this Mercury and the Sun could be like they could be anywhere in the chart, but I'm just, as I'm going to do like the ascendants, I'm just going to move that across so you can see, you know, it's literally sitting with the Sun as we speak. So okay, let's go to the ascendants. Let's start with Aries. So for Aries ascendant, Sun is, I mean, obviously, I just want to show you Sun Mercury, this, you know, but so Sun rules fifth house and Mercury rules third and sixth house. So for an Aries ascendant, when there is a conjunction of the Sun and Mercury, it's not great, because if there are any yogas are for better, for worse, they are combinations of planets and houses that can give us, like, you know, they can help us elevate. I mean, they can go the other way as well, but generally speaking, because Mercury for this ascendant rules third and sixth house, so there are two houses that get better with time. They're called upachaya houses, and so therefore, being with a trinal house lord, it can be a little bit difficult. So in a sense that this person can be very creative, because Sun rules a creative house, fifth house Leo, and Mercury rules a third house. So this person in work, because sixth house is work, they could be doing something creative, or they could also work for themselves, because third and sixth house, third house and sixth house is all about FS, particularly third house, efforts that you put in. And with sixth house means that efforts that you put into your work, service to others, etc. Hard work, you know. And as a result, you know, it could be in a job that they do that to do, like, for example, they do websites for like a big organization, like the local government, local council, something like that, because sixth house is, generally speaking, is like hospitals scenario, school education system, that kind of thing. So it could be very much to do with learning, teaching skills, stuff like that. And fifth house could be being an advisor, and also being, obviously, rules fifth house is children, and sixth house is also adolescence as well. So there could be a teacher in an education scenario too, or advise children. So it's children who might have like some sort of speech issue, like anything to do with like say, for example, Tourette's or dyslexia and things like anything like that. They could be a teacher for that too. Okay, now let's go to the next ascendant. For Taurus ascendant. For Taurus ascendant, Mercury rules second house, Gemini, and fifth house, which is Virgo. Now I've got to tell you also, just because now for Virgo, Virgo becomes a fifth house, it never loses its sixth house, because naturally Virgo is a sixth house of the natural zodiac. So always remember that, like for example, for Taurus ascendants, so they could still have an issue with children, because like their fifth house is the natural sixth house of the zodiac, or having children can create like a debt for them, or an obstacle, or they could have obstacles having children. So always bear that, you know, or they could be like in a divorce situation, because sixth house is divorce, and as a result they don't have, they can't see their children as often as they'd like to. So don't always, don't ever forget that that is also something that's going on. And but for Taurus ascendant, Mercury is a planet that can create money and wealth. And so obviously rules second house of money and fifth house, which is a trinal house. So just on its own, it can create money. So as long as it doesn't go into the sixth house, which is Libra, or be debilitated in Aries, which is their 12th house, then in other houses, it can actually create that, particularly if it's in a good condition. So, for example, if it was in like, say, for example, Mercury was in Leo for them. So this is a Raja Yoga as well. So fifth house rule in the fourth house, or they could earn money through, investing in a house, in a second house or something like that, that, or through their mum, or, that kind of thing. So always bear that in mind. So for them, so it's on its own can create lots of really good things. So, and obviously it's not terribly comfortable in Cancer. We don't want it to go into the sixth house because it obviously breaks any yogas. It doesn't necessarily like to be in Scorpio, but it does become like fifth house rule in the seventh house. So it does actually create a really nice Raja Yoga as well. And it just makes the person, because it's in their seventh house, it could actually make them like want to be with somebody that they were friends with before, or somebody that their family had introduced them to, and they got that commonality of, because second house is values, they got similar values, family values. And Mercury, obviously, again, not happy in Sagittarius because it really extends things. And this is also their eighth house. But Mercury in the eighth house is surprisingly good, even in an enemy sign. If it is in the ninth house, it's going to be good, because obviously it'll be like second house rule in the ninth house. That will bring a really nice situation for them, for money and just family values, that kind of thing, belief system. If it goes in the 10th house, again, in a friendly sign, Saturn sign, that's good. And that could be, they are very multi-talented in business, really, and as long as it's not being disturbed by a malefic. So they could be, because it is one of those planets that can actually adjust to the situation. They can just literally, they're very flexible as well. They can go with the flow of life. So they can be very creative when because it rules fifth house and it's a creative planet anyway. So when the things to do with the economy is quite weak, they could still kind of work things out. What do people need? That kind of thing. Obviously, it's not going to be great in Pisces because it's naturally going to be quite weak. This will be not so much a practical Mercury. It'll be, even though it's like fifth house ruler in the 11th house, it will protect from there the Virgo, but generally it's like, it's really hard for them to make decisions. They won't be able to actually manage their day-to-day life so well, but they'll be very sort of loved within their groups of friends. And obviously not very good in Aries. Unfriendly sign is also 12th house, so it naturally makes it feel a little bit like it is in Pisces. So but if it is in the first house, that'd be amazing, because they'll have directional strength. And if it is also in Gemini, it's pretty good. Obviously, it owns the second house, but not good there. Okay, just continue with Taurus ascendant. Okay, so another thing that, so now that Sun is with Mercury and Mercury works well in those houses, just also bear in mind that the Sun is rules an angle for Taurus ascendant. So it's, again, a very important planet. So this is going to work really well for them. Obviously, Sun doesn't work so well in all those houses, but it will work quite well in the second house, in the fourth house, because it rules the fourth house for them. But Sun doesn't work really well in Saturn signs, or also in what would be like Taurus. It would not work so because it's enemy sign. So, and obviously, as I said, doesn't want to go there in the sixth house, because that would just break any yogas. But generally speaking, because one rules an angle, one one rules a trine. As long as they go into a house that works quite well, they can help each other to overcome some of the issues of certain houses. And surprisingly, even though Sun is going to be kind of exalted there, but it's still, you know, having Mercury there, Mercury will be debilitated, so they kind of help each other in a sense. But it could also mean that they could once they have children, they could invest in a home far away in a foreign land or something like that. But yeah, it brings a trinal lord and an angle together, so work together pretty well. Okay, let's do next ascendant, which is Gemini. For Gemini, obviously, first and fourth house are ruled by Mercury, and Leo is third house for them. So it brings together siblings, which is third house, and all the communication skills and how they work with other people is Sun, and also first and fourth house ruler. So both planets are kind of creative. Sun is creative, and also Mercury is creative. So together it works. But with the Sun, because it rules the third house, it's going to take a while for all of those things to kind of really give fruits, if you like, because Sun will portray a house. So you've got to put effort into it. You have to be brave. You have to communicate well to express what you want. So you can't just imagine if it goes into the 10th house, which is, say, Pisces, for example, where Mercury actually will be debilitated too. They really got to wait until Sun will help, you know, Mercury, because obviously Sun will be strong there because it'll be in a friendly sign and it's got directional strength. But yeah, so generally speaking, if you're going to the 6th house, it's not going to be great, but because it breaks the yogas. But both planets are very good at working out 6th house stuff. Sun is a malefic, so it does well in the 6th house. Mercury also has that intellect that can be practical even in a like muddy waters. So yeah, so generally speaking though, it's pretty good. It just takes a little bit of time. You know, they might have problems like communicating, say, with the family, with their mom, you know, that kind of thing. But the more they learn to communicate, the happier they become, because it elevates their 4th house. Okay, so for Cancer ascendant, so obviously Mercury is not a good planet for Cancer. It rules difficult houses. 12th house is Sulpachaya, and 3rd house is also a house that takes time to get, you know, communication is not easy for Cancerians. Sun rules the 2nd house, which is house of money. So you know that if obviously in this chart here, as it happens, they are both in the 1st house. So that's, you know, Sun likes being in Cancer. Mercury hates being in there, but, you know, likes to be in the 1st house. So that's because it's got directional strength. So yeah, it's a situation where, you know, like, I mean, if they were in the 10th house, would be really good for the Sun. It's exalted, it's got directional strength. Mercury will get a lot of help from the Sun because it's an enemy sign. But generally speaking, you know, it's for this ascendant, it's really the Sun that, so if they go into like a trinal house, like say 5th or 9th house, then it will give money and wealth. And if it goes in the 10th house, obviously Sun will have directional strength. Mercury's got directional strength in the 1st house, which is great. And, you know, Sun is quite happy there too. But generally speaking, Mercury and Moon are not friendly planets towards each other. So there's going to be some issues in terms of like, one is mind, one is the thinking process. Just overthinking will exhaust them, and this always gives them some form of anxiety, really. So particularly then if, you know, if this is happening to the Moon, really. So, but yeah, I mean, Mercury likes to be practical, and when there's too many emotions and feelings in the way, then they can't actually give you the results that they want. So this is when just got to be practical and just think, you know, I'm going to just realize that mind is just a muscle and I don't need to react to all of them. It's just a thought. It passes. Tomorrow I'll have other thoughts. Later I'll have different thoughts. So it's really just like, and Mercury being the 1st house will be able to do that. Will be eventually like, no, I'm going to put it aside because I'm at work now and just focus on doing what's happening. So let's go next ascendant. Leo ascendant. So for Leo ascendant, this is great because Leo, obviously, Sun rules Leo, and Mercury rules second and 11th house. You don't want him in the 12th house. Sun doesn't do well in the 12th house. Mercury is debilitated and hates being in Cancer. So as long as it's not there, actually, that's one of the houses that's not good. It's also not going to be great if it is in the 6th house, because it breaks a lot of yogas, and these two together are quite dynamic planets for Leo ascendants. So as long as it doesn't go there, and even actually if it goes into the 8th house, despite the fact that Mercury is debilitated there, it's Mercury does well in the 8th house. So yeah, but it's going to be amazing if they are like in the 1st house. Mercury will be strong in the 2nd house. You know, both of them are strong in the 11th house. They're both strong, and they're going to do quite well also in this. Well, Sun will actually be a little bit like debilitated there, feel debilitated because it's the 7th house, but Mercury will help it. In their 9th house, Sun will be exalted. Mercury will get the help from the Sun there, you know, and so obviously you just got to just remember Sun doesn't like Venus sign, and Sun doesn't like Saturn signs, but Mercury does well in those. So when one lacks that energy, if you like, to give, the other one can help. But actually, like if he was in the 10th house, which is in Taurus, Sun doesn't like to be there, but it's got directional strength, and Mercury will be in a friendly sign, so it can really help. So but yeah, they're quite dynamic. One is a trinal and an angle lord. The other one is rule 2nd and 11th for money. So really nice. Virgo ascendant. So this brings together 12th house ruler Sun. Not great planet for them, but it doesn't break any yogas. So, and also Mercury rules 1st and 10th house. So Mercury is very important for Virgo ascendant. So yeah, and it's a situation where now if you have 1st house ruler with the 12th house ruler, what will happen? That person will just take a little bit of time, just getting to know themselves. They might be a little bit lost at the beginning. And Mercury is a young planet; it takes it a while to just like really give fruits. But yeah, so it's. I mean, if it was in the 10th house, some will have directional strength. So it could be a job that they do behind the scenes abroad, working with foreign clients, traveling to foreign countries, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, there'll be certain addictions and things they have to overcome, or their dad could have addiction issues. Hopefully, if it's not in the 6th house will be difficult. So if it falls in the 6th house, Sun will then help Mercury because it's the 12th lord in the 6th house. So through some difficulties and service to others and really hard work, you know, because this is obviously Saturn signs make you work really hard, then eventually the work will come. They could be in teaching, or, you know, teaching behind the scenes, online, things like that too, and or in a big organization, that kind of thing. But yeah, 6th house is always good if it's not involved in any combination of planets. Okay. Oh, I was just going to say, this is going to be pretty good if they actually end up in Gemini. Mercury's comfortable there, and Sun will have directional strength. So yeah, it's somebody who can really work things out. So okay. Libra ascendant. So Sun, obviously not a good planet, is an enemy to Venus, the ruler of this. And Mercury rules 9th and 12th house, and Sun rules 11th house. So just by sheer fact that they're together, as long as they don't fall into the 6th house, which is Pisces, then it's going to be pretty good, because like you have 11th house is money, and 9th house is a trinal. So just by sheer fact that they're together, they can actually create money and luck for these people, and really groups that give them, they have the same educational background, or they travel together, or they've got commonality in belief systems and religions, that kind of groups. So yeah, it will be pretty good. And obviously, you know, if it happens in the 10th house, like it is there, Sun will have directional strength. So that's pretty good, because it'd be also 10, you know, it brings loads of goodies there, because it would be 9th house ruler in the 10th house, 10th house, 11th house ruler in the 10th house. So it'd be multiple good things going on there. Okay. Scorpio ascendant. I've just realized just recently, I keep saying okay. Oh, these terrible habits you get. So Mercury for this ascendant, Scorpio is not a good planet. 8th and 11th house ruler is enemy to Mars, which rules this ascendant. Sun, on the other hand, rules the 10th house of career. So when they come together, if they go in a trinal house, for example, then that can create really good wealth and everything. But what happens with this ascendant, because 8th house is involved, so there could be chop and changes in their career. They could be like do secret work, do like, you know, some kind of spy surveillance. There's something about their job which is like, you know, a little bit mysterious. But again, you don't want it to fall into the 6th house. Having said that, if it goes into the 6th house, Sun will be really, really strong, and it'd be a Sun devoted to helping other people. So you know, it could actually be in legal work, things like that. So yeah. So there is good things in everything. You know, it might not give them the wealth that they want for a while, but it will come eventually, because 11th house is an upachaya house. 6th house is also an upachaya house. So get better with time. The more experiences they have, the more they know how to handle the Sun and Mercury and get fruits from them. Okay, so now Sagittarius ascendant. This is obviously Mercury is very important to them, rules 7th and 10th house. Sun also rules a trine. So together they make a really fantastic combination. As long as they don't go into Taurus, the 6th house should be pretty good. And obviously Mercury will be debilitated in their 4th house. So if possible, we want to keep that out. But, you know, pretty much any house they can work really well. Not typically good for either of them, you know, for neither of them should be in the 12th house. They don't function so well, but they're going to do not so badly. Like in the 10th house would be amazing. They could be a really amazing, you know, educational person, legal work, work as a judge, a barrister, and, you know, as I said, you know, in it could even be like they do home improvements and things if they fall there. So yeah, it's pretty good for them, because, you know, brings massive Raja Yoga together, 9th and 10th house ruler, and 7th and 9th house ruler too. That's another good Raja Yoga. Capricorn ascendant. So Sun is obviously not a good planet for them, rules 8th house, but it doesn't break any yogas. In fact, if they, you know, Mercury rules the 6th house, so it does break the yogas. So if they end up being in the 6th house together, it'll be pretty good, because what will happen is, through some hardship, difficulties and obstacles, and having to navigate through that, then actually this person will do well, because Mercury does well in 8th house, is in a friendly sign, and Sun rules the 8th house, so that's going to be good. And similarly, if they both end up in the 6th house as well, upachaya house, and this again creates a Viparit Raj Yoga, 8th house ruler in the 6th house, or 8th house ruler with the 6th house lord. So yeah, that's this is, you can see, so sometimes even like difficult planets can give you good fruits, because they can. Yeah, and it's going to be pretty good, as long as obviously we don't want neither of them to be debilitated, you know, so it's probably better to just leave Pisces and Libra. But even that, you know, if it was in the Sun's got directional strength, so you'd be debilitated, but I still have a, you know, I'll have directional strength. So, you know, it's literally in astrology, nothing is totally bad. There's always a way to navigate through things. Aquarius ascendant, for you guys, what happens is Sun rules 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and Mercury rules 5th house of academic education and children, romance, and also 8th house. So what happens is 8th house doesn't actually break any yogas, but this brings together a Raja Yoga, 5th and 7th house. Mercury can create money for them and wealth for Aquarius ascendant, as long as it doesn't fall into the 6th house like them to have fallen there. because obviously what happens if seventh lord is in the sixth house, with the eighth house lord as well, it could just be a divorce. But never fear about divorce. Some of us are meant to have more than one relationship, so or marriage. Don't worry about that. Don't judge yourself for things. Just don't do that. Be kind to yourself. Yeah, so as long as they don't fall in there, but even there, there is some beauty in that as well. But Mercury doesn't like being in Cancer. And yeah, so it's pretty good. I mean, in the second house, what will happen is obviously Mercury will be sitting with seventh. So there's a problem expressing yourself to the family, really. So you don't want Mercury, to be debilitated, but Sun is going to help it somewhat. But yeah, so you want as the stronger that they are, they're better, really. But obviously it'd be good if neither of them are, if they don't end up in 12th house. 12th house is not a good house for either planet. So Pisces ascendant for you guys, obviously what happens is Sun is not a good planet for you because it rules the sixth house, so it's going to break any good yogas. And fourth and seventh house are ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is a good planet for you, rules obviously two pillars, two angle houses. And so if they were to go into a trinal house, like for example Cancer or your ninth house, which is Scorpio, first house, then it will break the yogas for you. So it will be some debts or enemies or obstacles, some illness or something before things start coming in. So with experience and really sort of managing yourself well, things will get better. But generally speaking, these and it because it's also fourth house ruler as well, it's happiness. So when sixth house ruler is with it can actually just like put some obstacles in until you learn to manage yourself better and get more happiness and joy out of life, and being stable and create good relationships. So I guess it's just, again, upachaya sense of Sun. You learn how to deal with those effects. But yeah, but obviously Sun will be exalted in the second house there. So maybe like being of service to the family will be one of their ways to actually pay off some of that karma too. But generally speaking, though, these two planets, I mean, if they were to be in Libra, even though Sun is debilitated, Sun is also creating a Viparit Raj Yoga, which is losses and chronic illness or something like that, suddenness, surgery or something. You just change your fortune, maybe things start to get better after that. But it can also mean a divorce as well, because sixth and eighth house are not connected to the seventh house rule. And so just got to be careful with cars and repairs and things like that. And that's it from it. But you just learn that, like, for example, if they are in the seventh house, even though Mercury is strong there, Sun also likes to be in Virgo. So you kind of learn this could be really good for a job that's to do with healing, nutrition, managing yourself very well, litigation work, being service to others, being an educator. So again, none of it is really bad. And if they are in the 10th house, some will have directional strength. It could be a medic or professor or some sort of religious teacher as well. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you on next video. Thank you very much. Thank you.